Here it is, the first episode of my Answer a Lore question from my comments format. The question for today is, why do the great eagles not fly the One Ring to Mordor? Originally, I took this question as an example when I announced the format, and a viewer, the Rolling Thunder to be precise, commented, "Good question for a first episode." I would agree, so let's start. This is a very classic question, and it seems like an easy solution for the destroy the One Ring problem, but there are some arguments against it. First, we need to understand the great eagles a bit more. They are not simply giant birds, but at least to some degree higher beings. For example, they can speak. At the end of Return of the King, they fly over Minas Tirith and announce Sauron's fall. And before the sun had fallen, far from the noon, out of the east, there came a great eagle flying, and he bore tidings beyond hope from the lords of the west. Sing now, ye people of the Tower of Arnor, for the realm of Sauron is ended forever, and the Dark Tower is thrown down. The eagles even have a king or high lord with Thorondor. Gwaihir from Lord of the Rings is his descendant, so they are special. They are also servants of Manwë, who is the leader of the Valar, the in the quote mentioned Lords of the West, who are like angels of highest rank, but also a bit like a god pantheon, and the eagles bring their messages from Aman to Middle-earth. But there is more to the eagles. There is the theory that they are even Maiar themselves, like Gandalf, so servants of the Valar and angels or spirit beings of lower rank, but they took the form of eagles instead. In the Silmarillion we can read, "Spirits in the shape of hawks and eagles flew ever to and from Manwë's halls, and their eyes could see the depths of the seas and pierce the hidden caverns beneath the world." However, Tolkien changed his mind later because the eagles had descendants, which was unusual for Maiar. This is discussed in the History of Middle-earth book Morgoth's Ring. Depending on how canon you see these books, they are Maiar or not, but they remain servants of Manwë, and they could be bound to the same or similar rules as the Istari and be simply not allowed to take action directly. There is an interesting dialogue between Gandalf and Gwaihir in the Fellowship of the Ring. "How far can you bear me?" I said to Gwaihir. "Many leagues," he said, "but not to the ends of the earth. I was sent to bear tidings, not burdens." This indicates a bit that they have limitations to their actions and probably are not allowed to intervene in all events happening. Now, this is the lore side about their function and capabilities, but there are few more things to consider, the consequences of carrying the One Ring. First of all, Sauron had air units too, to use an RTS term. For example, in the First Age, he had a servant called Thoringwithil, a woman who could change her form into a bat. But she was slain at this time. Interestingly, she could have been a Maiar too, so potentially quite powerful. Tolkien also mentions the term vampire in this context, but they aren't mentioned during the Third Age anymore, at least to my knowledge. Sauron also had normal bats. Huge swarms of bats are mentioned in, for example, The Hobbit, and play a role in the Battle of Five Armies, because they form a cloud that blocks the sun. I think a huge swarm could potentially steal the One Ring from the eagles. It can be assumed he had other animal servants as well. For example, Saruman used Crebain, which are basically crows, to spy on the Fellowship of the Rings around Hollin or Eregion. This scene is also in Peter Jackson's first Lord of the Rings film. And last we have the so-called and well-known fell beasts, which are also quite powerful, especially with a Nazgul like the Witch King riding them. We see them in the films too. If the eagles now flew with the One Ring or the Ring-bearer over to Mordor, Sauron does not need to defeat all of the powerful eagles, just one would be enough. It would be even enough if the ring or the ring-bearer would fall down in combat or stolen by a bat as mentioned. This attempt would be very risky, especially for the eagle carrying the ring, and success is not guaranteed. Another factor that must be considered, the eagles are intelligent beings, so they could get corrupted by the One Ring too. Knowing how powerful those eagles are, that could be very bad. Not even Gandalf, Galadriel or Elrond dared to carry the ring, which should give an impression how dangerous it is to carry, whatever the bearer's nature might be, and especially when they are powerful. In Middle-earth, only Tom Bombadil can carry it without being affected at all, so maybe flying Tom to Mordor should be the better idea, but he's a special case, and his fate and purpose is not destroying the ring, which is partially discussed in Elrond's council. This brings us almost to the last point. Destroying the One Ring or just letting it go needs an unimaginable amount of willpower. Only Bilbo managed to do this with Gandalf's help, a truly impressive deed. Frodo and Sam, however, fail at the end of Lord of the Rings. They can find the power to destroy it, so bringing the ring-bearer to Mordor would not instantly solve the problem. We also see in the lore how the One Ring affects the people around him too, which could also affect the eagles, especially when coming closer to Mordor. Another interesting point, the One Ring changed the fate of Middle-earth. The concept of fate is very important in Tolkien's works. All who had contact with it were part of this fate, and the eagles, as messengers of the Valar, have no part in it. In the end, we also would not have a great and epic story if this loophole could be exploited. Tolkien, to my knowledge, never commented on this matter, but he said in letter 210, "The eagles are a dangerous machine. I have used them sparingly, and that is the absolute limit of their credibility or usefulness." I think that sums it up well. The intent is to bear tidings, not burdens. Thank you for watching. And this was the first episode. I tried to find a balance between in-depth and a short video, and this is about what you can expect from this format. For the next episode, I have some interesting topics in my closer selection. Be surprised. Maybe I start a vote if I can't decide in the community tab, or if you want on Twitter too. If you like this, consider pressing the like button and leave a comment. I would like to know how you like this pilot episode. Feel free to post a Tolkien-related lore question too for future episodes, but I will only pick questions that allow for shorter videos. If you want to learn more about Tolkien's lore, I have many long in-depth videos on my channel, like the video about almost all the Elvish lore. Next will be most likely a new episode of my format where I go through the Lord of the Rings films and explain the references, the story backgrounds and differences to the books. Topic will be mainly the hobbits and their culture again, so we are just at the start. Again, thank you for watching and goodbye.